Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Power of Potential podcast. I'm Michael Falgaris.
And I'm Miranda Simon.
Welcome. I'm excited to, one of our best art teachers, Mrs. Sikorski, is here with one of her students. We're looking at some of the artwork. You know, this is the time, Mrs. Sikorski, when we usually have an art show.
Yes, serendipity.
Yes, and bring people in to look at the terrific work of your students. And today we're getting to highlight that here in our podcast. Just move that mic closer, especially with your mask on. We're not going to be able to hear you unless you kind of get close to it. Ms. Sikorski brought one of her students here, Susanna Testa. Susanna, you are a senior here at St. Rose?
Yeah.
So you have a couple more days left, right?
Yes, only a week.
Can you believe it?
I know, it's gone
No,
fast.
it's been so fast.
Do you remember coming in as a freshman?
Yeah, I was so scared. I was scared to start high school.
And now here you are, and then your sister, you have a younger sister that's here as a freshman, so it's kind of, now she gets to have that experience.
Yep.
So what really brought this episode about, Miss Sikorski, is that I was in your room, and I was looking around, and I saw one of the pieces of art, and I said, who did this? Like, I didn't believe that it was a student that did it. I thought it was a professional artwork. And you said no, and then you started showing me more work. And I was just impressed. Tell me a little bit about the projects that you want to highlight or talk about here today.
Okay, Susanna's Testa. Susanna is in the AP Advanced or AP 2D Design, AP 2D Design and Drawing class, and it's a wonderful AP class because it involves digital art as well as hand done pieces of art. So what Michael was looking at was the part of a progression of Susanna's work. Now, he's told me the podcast was going to be about potential. So in AP, we usually start with the perfect definition of the word potential. So existing and possibilities. And so that's how the AP class started. And Susanna, what was probably the most difficult thing was what? Coming up with that idea?
Yeah, I was thinking of something to make your whole portfolio about. That's difficult.
And that was hard, right?
Yeah.
Susanna came up with a wonderful idea about showing progression of life through hands. And we all know just, and on top of it, her being an anatomical illustrator, she loves to draw anatomically. So hands in her work is just lovely. But I think what's kind of interesting about it, and she almost forgot about this piece, is back in drawing and painting, we did a piece on time. And so as she marks time through hands, it sort of began as an idea a year ago. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
This is from when you were in 11th grade.
Yes.
Yeah.
So existing and possibilities, expressing possibilities. So when we look at Susanna's work, and I'm going to have her talk about it, it's this wonderful, and the reason I have her here today is she exemplifies pushing an idea. And that's what potential is, right? Taking that idea and really bringing it to, everyone produces an AP, those first 6 pieces of art, really easy. And it's the last 9 that are difficult to really push forward and come up with a different idea. So what Susanna has chosen is to portray life through hands. And so I'll let her talk about her work. And just before she does, I'd like to just say, the reason I have her here also is she has expressed a great deal of her own research, her use of materials, use of technique, and she's pushed all of these ideas. And that's really the essence of potential.
Wow.
So that's why she's here.
So this first piece of mine, I did this in pencil, and it's supposed to show like birth and just like a preemie in the hospital. So you can see it's like the parent holding the baby's finger.
Wow.
Wow, it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
It's the details
Yes.
and the shadowing.
Yeah.
So something like this. I'm not an artist. How long does this take?
This one took maybe like a week and a half of class time.
Wow.
to do.
Well, I'll have to
That's it.
interject something. A lot of times we look at artwork and say, how long did it take?
Yeah.
So, Picasso painted something in 15 minutes, and Leonardo da Vinci took years.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
the idea, it's how an artist represents it. So time is one of these factors that, sometimes when we think about, the quality of something. And also, one other thing I'd like to say is I have extremely talented kids in this class, in the AP class
Yeah.
also. So I just want to also express that, who have done extraordinary portfolios also.
So you're saying it's not something we shouldn't really be asking an artist how long something took because it doesn't matter how long it took.
I mean, it certainly, some people just have, Susanna has a very extraordinary drawing skills. So, like, she drew something last night, which I wasn't able to print today. But, I mean, and so some people can just really put it down on paper fast and really know what they're going after. Now, a piece like this took a little longer. It was a couple different processes.
A little more intricate. More medias.
But do you start with a sketch first and then you go to this?
Well, the process for AP is we start first with that inquiry question, that definition. Then we begin with research, and then they're researching. Now, it was funny, in Susanna's work, at one point she's doing hands, and finally I said to her, why don't you just photograph your own hands? And she was, oh, yeah. I have my own hands to photograph. So, in other words, teaching these young art students that you want somebody with headphones and a microphone, come on over and photograph Mr. Falgaris and draw him. So learning to seek out their references also, as opposed to always going to the internet.
Interesting.
You know,
Look in
it's
your
all
real
around
world.
us.
Yeah, it's all around you.
Yep.
Is there a piece that you're most proud of? I mean, I'm looking at
I
least.
would say, well, I really like this one. This one, what was the technique that we used for this?
It's a trompe-l'oeil technique, and so what it does is you're supposed to almost represent a surface using technique as opposed to photographing it on a wood table.
So I collaged this in,
Yeah.
and then I did this part in colored pencil, and I used oil pastels. And this one, I actually found a drawing of what I did when I was younger, so I kind of like recreated it.
Oh.
Yeah. It's wonderful. A lot of her work is interjected. I think is the piece here of the keys. Do we have an
do we have
example?
Yeah.
Oh, this piece is quite lovely.
This looks like it would be like a
Print
Toy
is
Story.
nicely, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't it beautiful?
It's a little
Wow.
oversaturated, but this one I did with Conti crayon, which is basically a mix of charcoal and pastel. And this is my dad's hand, and this is my hand.
Oh, wow.
So the progression of handing over the car keys. Okay.
Is that really what so that was your idea? That, you know, hands were the main concept, and then you went in with
Yes.
different ways.
So if we're sort of looking quickly, we have birth,
Yep.
and then we have first steps,
Yeah.
and now we have experiencing writing, and the freedom of painting as we come.
Yep.
In high
wait.
school, this one is a lovely piece.
This one's also one of my favorites.
This,
That's the one I saw.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's the one I
looks-
saw. We got to show
and
this.
you know, with hands, it just, you know, like at that age of understanding 4, 5, 6-year-olds, maybe did something, and sort of how the hands are so expressive.
I
A
do
lot
that.
of interpretation.
As a 41-year-old.
I also do
What did
that.
I do?
Yeah. What did I do? Yes. But, and then we move on to high school, right? We come into this trend, and then the high school years of driving and that
Getting
little
your
more
license.
maturity. And,
It's all just big milestones.
yeah, well, and then this is what I say too, also expresses, she goes into a totally different media here, and working with fiber art, and this wonderful expression of in a hoop of first love, romance, and moving into that. And how do you finish up your progression?
So I'm still not completely done with it, even though it's due in like a week. That's okay though. I think I'm gonna end it with like maybe like a life cycle, like a circle, and I'm gonna like edit the pictures digitally of all of my other pieces I've done and put it around like a circle to show the circle of life.
Oh, that's
ended up.
cool.
You would have it spin.
Well, yes, we were just talking about how much I like when projects have movement, like all projects in every subject. So, yes, I would probably have it spin somehow, some way, but that's why.
There were in the art department, not the art, but the theater arts
yes.
department. They're making a project, and they have to create a, what is it?
It's a set design, so it's kind of like more artsy than I'm used to, like more like physical art. I'm usually more like acting. This is amazing to me. This is not my forte, and I find it so impressive.
So what are you doing with this? Like, you're graduating, you're going on to college. How do you think that you're going to be able to leverage art in your future?
I think it's just gonna be something I do on the side and as a hobby, maybe like a few projects here and there for some like a few freelance projects and stuff, but it's not something I could see myself going into.
Do you know what an NFT is?
No.
Okay, go home and look up NFT. It's non-fungible token. And it's this new way of selling art.
Oh, yeah, we
And-
discussed them in class. Were you maybe in lab? I think.
And this
Yeah.
one artist that was just designing things, he just sold his whole, one of his drawings for millions. It's just,
Bitcoin.
and with Bitcoin. And it's just a new way of selling art. Instead of getting the art and hanging it on the wall, you own it digitally. You have to look into that. I know Ms. Sikorski has to go. Where are you going to college?
Seton Hall.
And what are you studying?
Biology.
Biology. Well, we're impressed with you and all the art you did. If you want to see this artwork, we're going to put it on the website. Is it okay if we capture this?
Oh, sure.
Yes.
And then you can put it on our you can see it on our website. What is our website?
srhsnj.com/pop.
And that's it. Mrs. Sikorski,
Thank you.
you're a terrific
thank
art
you.
teacher.
Thank
I know
you.
you really motivate your students and help them to really love art. And so we're lucky to have you here at
the
St.
energy.
Rose. And good luck to you. I know your mom and dad are very proud of you. Are you a salutatorian? Salutatorian, class of 2021. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of the Power of Potential podcast.
Yes, thank you. This was so interesting. I learned a lot about art and how AP art works.
So
No
next
idea.
week you're going to hear about immigration.
Yes.
And the
with
World Language Department.
Yes, and Senora Delgado and some of her students come in and they talk about a project they do in Honors Spanish 3 about immigration, and they talk about their grandparents and how they came over, and most came through Ellis Island. And we talk about just how what they brought with them, and maybe they mostly brought their culture. They didn't have a whole lot. So we talk about that, and that's also very interesting.
So check it out on the Power of Potential podcast. Thank you, ladies.
Yes, thank
for
you
having
Bye-bye.
me. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Power of Potential podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Subscribe to hear past and future episodes. Learn more about St. Rose by visiting our website at srhsnj.com.